Have you ever wondered why some absolutely brilliant futuristic ideas just fail, while other kind of boring ones quietly take over the world? Well, it's not bad luck, not at all. There is a hidden pattern at play, a fundamental choice that separates projects that become monuments from projects that build markets. And we're going to unpack that exact pattern through the incredible story of two airplanes. They were born from the same ambition, but had wildly different fates. Okay, so picture this. On one side, you have the Concorde, a supersonic marvel, right? It was the future, today. It could get you across the Atlantic in just 3.5 hours. Then on the other side, you have the Airbus A300, a totally conventional subsonic workhorse. Now, at first glance, the outcome makes absolutely no sense. Concorde was a commercial disaster. Airbus became a global titan. This isn't just a story about engineering. It's a story about strategy, and it holds the key to why the beautiful dream so often loses out to boring old reality. So this is the central mystery we're diving into. Both of these projects got started back in the 1960s. Both were designed to challenge American dominance in the skies. Both had massive government backing. So how is it that one is now a museum piece, and the other is the foundation of a global empire? The answer isn't some single event. It's a fundamental choice they made right at the beginning, a choice that separates nearly every success from every failure. To really get this, we've got to rewind the clock a bit. We need to go back to the beginning, to a post-World War II Europe that was absolutely determined to rebuild its prestige on the world stage. You know, there was this shared ambition, especially between France and the UK, to reclaim their spot at the top of the aerospace world. They were just tired of watching American companies like Boeing dominate everything. So they poured a ton of money and resources into two huge projects, and each one represented a completely different bet on how to win. One was this radical leap into the future, and the other was a direct challenge to the Americans, right on their own turf. And right here, this is the moment where it all clicks. The real reason for their different outcomes isn't buried in the engineering blueprints, it's in the core philosophy they were built on. And this is the hidden pattern that you'll see again and again and again, not just in aviation, but in pretty much every industry you can think of. It really all boils down to these two ideas: technology push versus market pull. Technology push basically asks, what's the most advanced, incredible, awe-inspiring thing we can possibly build? You know, it's about showing off your technological muscle. But market pull asks a totally different question. It asks, what problem do our customers actually have and what solution will they pay for? One creates monuments, the other creates markets. And look, this isn't just my theory, it's documented fact. These objectives you see here, they're pulled directly from an official EU report that analyzed these projects. Concorde's mission was pure technological pride. Leapfrog the US, develop technological sectors. Airbus's mission, on the other hand, was brutally simple: build planes suitable for the needs of the market. One was building a national monument, the other was building a business. So what happens when you go all in on a pure technology push strategy? Well, you get a technical masterpiece like Concorde, a plane so brilliant it basically designed itself right out of a business model. See, that single-minded obsession with speed created this cascade of problems they could never solve. The sonic booms meant it was banned from flying over land, which killed off most of its potential routes from the get-go. It was a legendary gas guzzler. More than half its takeoff weight was just fuel. And with only about 100 seats, the tickets had to be astronomically expensive. It was the perfect solution for a problem almost nobody had. And then, talk about bad timing. Just as this incredibly thirsty jet was getting ready for its big debut, bam! The 1973 oil crisis hits and fuel prices just go through the roof. Suddenly, the plane's greatest engineering feat, that unbelievable speed, was totally crippled by its biggest economic flaw: its unbelievable first. It flew straight into a new reality that it was never designed for. Okay, so while all that drama is unfolding with Concorde, what was Airbus up to? While Concorde was struggling with being a marvel that no one could afford to fly, Airbus was quietly, methodically executing its market pull strategy. Airbus was playing a totally different game. They weren't trying to be the fastest or the sexiest. They were trying to be the most profitable for their customers. That EU report actually talks about how they were obsessed with surveying airlines to figure out what they really needed. And you know what the answer never was? Speed. It was efficiency, reliability, flexibility. So that's what Airbus built. A whole family of workhorse jets that made airlines money. They listened, and they won. And the result of these two completely opposite philosophies is, well, it's staggering. Just look at the numbers. Only 20 Concordes were ever built. 20. Airbus? We're talking over 10,000 airplanes, and they're still counting. That's not just a small difference in outcome. That is the difference between being a cool footnote in a history book and getting to write the next chapter of the book yourself.
But hold on, because here's the part of the story that most people get wrong. Everyone thinks the story ends with that tragic crash in Paris, but the truth is actually way more ironic, and that's where the real billion-dollar lesson is hiding.
We all remember the horrific crash of Air France 4590. It was an absolute tragedy, a terrible blow that grounded the entire fleet and completely shook public confidence. For most people, that's the image that's burned into their minds when they think about the end of Concorde.
But here's the twist that almost nobody remembers. The planes were all extensively modified. They put in new safety features, spent a fortune, and they actually returned to service more than a year later. So no, the crash didn't kill Concorde. The real death blow came from a cold, hard business decision made by its biggest rival. And this is the final, incredible irony. The one manufacturer responsible for making the spare parts, the one company that could keep Concorde in the air, was, by that point, Airbus. And according to the chairman of British Airways himself, Airbus just wasn't willing to do it anymore. In the end, the pragmatic, profitable, market-driven workhorse was the one that pulled the plug on the beautiful, expensive, technological marvel. It's just unbelievable. So this all brings us to the ultimate takeaway, the billion-dollar question that every innovator, every founder, every creator has to answer for themselves. When you set out to build the future, are you building a monument to your own brilliance, or are you building a tool that solves a real-world problem? One path leads to a beautiful museum piece. The other leads to actually changing the world. And that choice is everything.